So a few days ago, which is like 7 days as of recording this, Dr. Nowhere just released a new video. It's called Desiderio. It's probably pretty obvious because it's going to be in the title, I guess. And I watched it last night. It's unique. I want to get into it right away, but first I think it's important to go through and see if the video has any extra things to offer. So there are no other videos. There's no other videos associated with this. The only other thing that I can find is in the description, which I'll read right now. Fran Keel, I think it's going to be Fran. A lone hypochondriac finally confronts the root of his illness. That's an interesting thing. I don't know a lot about many things, but I do know hypochondriac or hypochondria is something to do with like worrying about having serious medical conditions, not trusting doctors, just thinking you have like symptoms for something really serious, but you don't. Well, in this script, a lot of this video, I kind of make assumptions without knowing the whole picture or without thinking about it enough, so I might skip over those or go over them really fast, just because they don't really make much sense. Yeah, but I guess I should go over the video itself before anything. The video opens with this ghostly white thing looking through a slit in a painting, before transitioning into a man's house. In this house, you're in the living room, and there's a man sitting in his chair. This man, who is definitely Fran Keel, because there's no other person in the video, is sitting alone in the silent room with the clock. He's visibly distressed. He's not happy. Looks like he's really stressed out about something. I do want to talk about Fran's design because he's really the only other moving character in the entire video. So it's important to talk about him and what he looks like. So Fran is a fairly nondescript looking man. He's got some interesting things about him, like his nose, long feet. Those are just like stylistic choices. And he's this like white, but also there's like a fleshy, sunburnt looking tan on some of his body too, which is another interesting part about him. And then the only thing that from my guess, well, not really my guess, but the other thing that's actually important to the story itself is that he has this thing in, I would call it his like upper stomach, chest area, really where the lungs would be. It's like this open wound, this gash. I'll call it a gash because I have no other word for it. Yeah, so Fran's sitting in his chair. He's looking very stressed out. He's staring at the chimney. And then a small thing of ash or soot falls onto the floor of his chimney. And then his gash opens up and the same creature from the beginning appears. I guess we'll stop. This is one of those I don't know what's going on kind of things. So Fran is obviously very distressed as he sees this soot in his chimney, and then his stomach opens up and shows this horrific thing inside of him. That's got to mean something. I think the creature means like one of two things. I think the creature can either be like a personification of Fran's disease or a personification of Fran's. I won't really go into them that much because my explanation for this was pretty flawed. It's also a minute into the video, so those are my two guesses as to what that creature is. And then the chimney definitely has, it for sure has some sort of meaning beyond being a chimney, but I won't get into that yet. So continuing on, Fran then sticks his hand into the gash, and we cut into the interior of his body. It's almost like a SpongeBob kind of thing. I see a little bit of that in this art style. It's a really cool art style. I like it a lot. So from here we get our first real look at this thing, whatever it is. It's that kind of humanoid shape, similar to the boy in the bath, kind of like a Doctor Nowhere kind of signature humanoid shape. But it does have these appendages that look like tree roots, nerves, and he's even positioned in quite a way where he could even look like the lungs a little bit. So as Fran reaches deeper in, he moves past the thing, he avoids the thing, and gets to a shelf of prescriptions inside his body. And he grabs one off the shelf. Wow. It then cuts to him taking a pill in his kitchen area of his house. And I wish I could say that I'm smart enough to know what kind of medication this is, but I did have to look for the name and what it was in the comments because I was scrolling down there the whole time because I'm a coward. So I don't know if he's right, but it's my best guess, and I didn't really want to look into it much more because it doesn't really show up much later. But according to, what's this, Mr. Plant #1 fan, in the comments, he says he thinks this is albendazole, which is a medication for treating intestinal parasites, which it adds another possibility to what this thing inside of him could be. There's a chance it's a parasite and it's a real thing, but I don't know. It seems almost like otherworldly, so I don't know about that. There's also a chance that there really is a parasite in him, and this creature he sees and all the stuff with the chimneys are just delusions. That's always a chance too. But yeah, after taking his pill, cuts back to the chimney, where a second thing of soot has dropped. Soot or ash, I don't know what it is. It looks like soot, from what I've seen of soot. And Fran is sitting in his chair, breathing heavily with a lampshade over his head. Okay, so Fran's now, extremely distressed. He seems to be hiding from something in the chimney with the whole lampshade thing. I don't think that would work, personally. I would probably just not sit in my chair. But also, I don't know what he's thinking or what it is, so. And then it shows two things. Two things kind of start happening all at once. They're pretty important, both of them. Okay, so first, the creature inside of him is coming out of where the pill dropped, and then the shelf also dropped down there. And so did the pill, so my guess is it's just kind of climbing up from where the pills were. And then, in his chimney, a pair of lungs appears. And the lungs aren't doing too well. They are making noises that I would associate with some sort of lung disease. They don't sound too good. So, that also means that something might be wrong with his lungs. And then, also since that thing looks like it's in place of his lungs, the thing could be a disease, and he could just be seeing the disease on the outside in his house, and he's hallucinating. So, I don't know. And that would be kind of weird if he's taking a parasite medication, if he is taking a parasite medication when he has a lung condition. But anyway, back to the video. Fran goes outside his house, and he goes to clean his chimney. I guess he's not having this anymore. He doesn't want the soot and the diseased lungs to show up anymore. So he's definitely isolated, since the house is the only structure in view. There's no one around him. He's alone. Okay. Fran climbs up to his chimney. He doesn't climb up his chimney, he climbs up to his chimney from his roof to try to clean something out. The something is presumably the soot, everything from fires before. So he starts peering into the pitch black of his chimney when something in the field catches his eye. It's that thing again. I don't know what to call it. I'm just gonna call it like the creature. I like when things are called the creature and the more horror things. It's always funny. So there's another thing that so the being right before the being shows up, the creature, another thing happens for like really quickly in a few frames. Fran has like a tree go through his chest. His head turns into this white nerve thing that looks like same color as the creature, and then the appears in the field. This time, it speaks to him. I will not read out what it said. There's a storm coming, Fran. You'll know they'll never find out what's wrong with you. And even if they did, they're just going to make you sicker. You know the doctor just wants to lie to you. They're going to keep pumping you full of things that fix one problem and then make a worse one. You can go over there and they'll just try to shove more medicine down your gullet. There's a storm coming, Fran, and you'll be all alone in your house when it gets here. Every drop on your roof will remind you that there's no one to share the comfort with, and you know you'll be here all alone with me, followed by laughter. I don't want to laugh. I think that would be stupid. You remember our deal, don't... God. You remember our deal, don't you? You should be grateful to even be here, followed by more laughter. Okay, so after that, it cuts back to Fran in his living room. This time, he's like on the verge of tears. He's not having it. He's not happy. And there's also, I should probably have mentioned this before, there's something that looks like an umbilical cord coming out of that gash. Maybe that's why he's on the verge of tears. I wouldn't like that, personally. It could be an intestine, but it's small for an intestine, so that's why it looks like an umbilical cord. So, what he does next, it kind of starts where this video goes from weird and abstract to like incredibly weird and abstract. It like takes it up another level. So he grabs his cord and he pulls, and out comes the head of that creature, that thing again. And then it shows in the frame, for a few frames, it shows what looks like a tree coming out of his body or moving away from his body. And then it cuts back to Fran sitting motionless in his chair. Looks dead. The cord is out, and something that looks like his head at the start of the creature's speech is there, on the end of it. That white, nerve-looking thing. And then it gets even more weird. His entire upper half comes off of his lower half and up the chimney. His body then falls to the ground, and Fran becomes a bird-like creature. And it's the same ghostly white as that creature inside of him. The bird thing itself also has those nerve-like things for like wings that look very similar to the creature. And then it flies through the forest and it goes down a hole and it ends the video. Just wow. That whole ending sequence happens in like 45 seconds. And it's probably the most confusing thing ever. Okay, so back to the kind of flawed things. I wasn't thinking in the full picture, and my final guess is probably not in the full picture either, but I think that the creature inside of Fran is the personification of his hypochondria, his fear. Because it talks about how the doctors are lying to Fran, and also he's talking about their deal and how Fran should be thankful for being here. And that makes it seem like hypochondria, but it also seems like the thing isn't trying to protect him, he's just made a deal with him. Which also makes me think, is this thing an actual, real creature that has turned... Oh, it actually, I just didn't read the next part. It does... everything that was shown seems like delusions that could come from definitely isolation. Isolation will do this to you if you're isolated for super long, which he seems to have been. And then also, I guess if you have hypochondria, this would do that to you too. I don't have it. Glad I don't. But I think that the whole thing with the doctors don't want to help you, that's probably something to do with hypochondria. Groundbreaking, I know. And it really does seem like there's something wrong with him, with his lungs, and it really doesn't seem like the doctors are helping or can help him get better. And if he's taking a parasite medication, yeah, they probably don't know what's wrong, and they probably can't really figure it out. And my guess is that since nothing they're giving him is making him feel better and they're causing other problems, even if they're not intentionally trying to do this, he believes the doctors are working against him, which comes back into hypochondria. Something I didn't realize because I didn't look deep enough was that there are a few. Hypochondria is not just one thing. People have hypochondria and experience a lot of different things. There's care seeking, where you think something's wrong with you and you want to get care. There's care avoidant, where you don't know. No doctors, you don't trust them. And that seems to be what he's doing. And I think that his hypochondria kind of like tendencies could have probably developed after seeking help for an illness he actually had. And that creature, that my guess it's the personification of his hypochondria. I think that it came to him because not only is he isolated, but now he's worried that the doctors are working against him, and it came to him as something like a guardian. And so instead of being the illness, I think this creature is more of a voice in his head telling him that the doctors are lying to him, that he's the only one that can protect him, the voice that can protect Fran. But then he also seems scared of this voice inside of him, like he's trying to avoid it, which means that maybe he's having clarity. He knows that that is not good. He knows that the thing inside of him, the fear, is a problem. But he could also think that it's something else. I don't know. But at the end of the creature's speech, he says that Fran will be stuck with him. And since the creature also talks about a deal that he and Fran made, the creature seems like a friend to him as much as the doctors are. I don't know. It seems malicious. Like, you'd think, well, it definitely seems malicious. And the ending sequence adds something else. Fran pulls the creature out of him, and this is what has to be the part where he faces his illness. He confronts his illness, the root of his illness, which I'm gonna skip over this next part because I think my original theory about the creature being his anxiety and this thing, I was just going down this path where I thought that the creature was the root of his illness, which I just don't think, after looking at it in a more full picture sort of thing, which again is probably flawed, but I think it's less flawed. I just don't think that the creature inside of him is the illness. I think it's maybe a mental illness, not the illness itself, the actual problem. And where I really got set on this idea is when I thought about the house. And the house, there's a lot going on with the house, which is weird. The chimney seems to correspond with lungs because, well, lungs show up in the chimney, so I wonder why. But the chimney corresponds with the lungs, and that is it could be a big jump, but it really leads me to believe that Fran's house is his body. Like, Fran is living inside of what is his body. Fran's house seems to symbolize his body in a way, because the chimney corresponds with lungs, and lung problem, and he's breathing a lot and breathing kind of weird. So then he's living inside of his body. I'm guessing what is his body. There's a problem, an illness in the chimney with his lungs, just like there's a creature living inside of Fran. Fran does not confront this creature, and he hides from the illness in his house by putting the lampshade on. Which makes me get it just. I'm seeing a kind of correspondence between the two. I'm seeing that the thing inside of him is as much of an illness as the lungs in his house, because he's hiding from those two. But Fran does decide to confront the issue within his house, to confront the root of his illness. I think the lungs themselves in his house are the true root of his illness. He goes up the chimney to clean the soot out of his chimney. Then that creature stops him. It leads him away from fixing the problem. I think that this creature, when it speaks to him in the field, I originally thought it was the root of his illness. I don't think so. I think it's his hypochondria. I think it's that personified. I think it's the delusions from being isolated and having hypochondria that come together to create this that stops him from fixing himself. And I think that what happens here, where he tries to clean the chimney, has happened like several times. I think he's tried to, like, he's ready to confront the issue, the root of his illness, but then his fear stops him. It tells him there's no fixing this. It tells him that no one can help him. It's just like leads him away. And when the creature speaks to Fran, he doesn't clean out his chimney after. I think that he realizes that he's fearful and that the real problem right now is his fear. And since his fear has stopped him so many times, I think he kind of finally realizes that the fear is the real problem. Fran does. And he finally goes to confront it. Yeah, now I'm that middle part where I thought that the being was the root of his illness. I don't think so. I'm going back to what I thought originally. I think Fran's house symbolizes Fran's body and his true illness, his actual illness. I think Fran symbolizes like his consciousness, his mind trying to get help and fix the illness, and then the creature symbolizes the root of his mental illness, Fran's fear to get help, the thing that has stopped him from fixing everything so many times. I think that the creature really is the voice in his head telling him that there's no fixing this, that he's stuck with it. And I also think that Fran realizes this after this last talk. Especially, it does say there's a storm coming, so that might mean you're done for unless you do something, but you can't do anything. I think that's what the thing's trying to tell him, that this is your only chance to get out, and I think he realizes that he can't get out unless he confronts what has become his real problem, his fear. So I think that the scene where he pulls the creature out is the scene where he confronts his fear. And then the final sequence is a really confusing thing. It's definitely the most abstract. It's something that I can't fully understand. So he removes the root, his entire upper half of his body, climbs out of the chimney, flies around, and then his flesh falls off to reveal another white thing, another bird-like, it's a bird-like creature, I don't know what else to call it. And the bird thing flies through the forest and then down a hole, and then that's it. So, does Fran die? What does the bird thing relate to? The final part, I don't understand. Does it mean that Fran's fear is gone? Did it fix everything when his body flew through the chimney? Is he fixed now? And I think that when we're talking about before the whole flying away his body thing, I think that was him confronting his fear. And when we include the whole final sequence where he flies away, I think that Fran was going to die all along. There was no stopping it. and he's just trying to hide from that. He's trying to hide from the fact that he's gone. He's almost out the door. And when he faces the root of his illness, his fear, I think he's accepting his death. But this video is a very abstract video, and something about the video, it's so abstract, but something about it is so real, so similar to what could happen and what actually does happen to people, some people. And I think that's what scares me the most about this, that this might be me. I might have a creature, I might imagine a creature living inside of me, stopping me from helping myself. I think that's truly terrifying. And yeah, I haven't struggled with any of the problems that Fran has, so I don't think I can ever fully understand it. Because Fran is definitely, he has hypochondria. He also has another real illness, I think. And I just haven't really been through either of those, so this is just kind of like a weird point of view that might not make much sense. That's really all I have to say about the video itself, but first I do want to take a minute to just talk about the video on like an art level. I think this is one of the most well put together videos I've ever seen. It's amazing. The sound design, the settings, the characters, the painting. I love the style that he paints in. It just all meshes together perfectly, and it's all in that style that is completely unique to Dr. Noah's stuff. And even though it's all in that similar style, he can spin it in so many different ways and do so many different things with it, and I think that's what keeps me coming back for his stuff. It's great. It's awesome. You should watch the full video. It's cool. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. Yeah, that's all. If you did make it this far, thanks. It means so much to me that you'd sit all through all my rambling. And because this whole script was me just kind of trying to figure out what the video means. I don't think I nailed it. This is what I got out of it, because it's abstract. It's a very weird video. It doesn't put things in your face, and I'm glad that it doesn't. So you can get a lot of different things out of it. Maybe I'm just wrong. I guess that's my guess. I think I'm just wrong. Yeah, but thank you so much for watching this, and if you really liked this and you want to see more, you should subscribe. You should do it. I think this is where I want to take my channel, kind of down the path with like internet horror, just talk about it, because there's some really interesting things in here. It's a very broad field, and it's something that I just got back into and I really want to look through more. Yeah.